I was originally going to do this one after doing some videos on the TV series, but Bigfinish is running a competition over people giving them feedback at the moment, and as we all know, I am the best at feedback. And I want to win, damn it! Winning is everything! When it was first announced that Bigfinish would start doing plays about another media fixture of my nostalgic comfort zone, I started jumping up and down and gibbering like a 5-year-old, and then was slightly taken aback when I heard that it would be a remake/reimagining of the series, rather than continuing on from the original like their Doctor Who plays do. But then of course you remember that The Prisoner kind of broke its own universe in the final episode and is virtually a dead end. So Prisoner fans like me basically had to cross our fingers and hope that it wouldn't turn out like what happened last time someone tried to remake The Prisoner. But since I trust Bigfinish and Nick Briggs himself, one of the busiest writers at the company, cleared his schedule for writing the entire box set, I knew it'd probably be pretty great because when Nick Briggs is clearly enthusiastic and heavily invested, he can be one of the finest writers in the country. And before I go in, I've got to say that whoever designed the individually numbered box sets did an awesome job of it. If you look at my one here, it's like this nice glossy hardback book. If you see here, mine's number 1169, and look how shiny it is. Pretty shiny object. And if you look inside here, you've got some notes, including Nick Briggs giving us a really fond couple of pages on when he first watched The Prisoner, and... Wait a second, I'm literally doing an unboxing video. What the hell is happening to me? Look everybody, here is a product that I bought with the money that I have. Look, here is another product that I bought with my money. And if you look inside here... Yep, it's definitely got the product inside it, alright. Anyway, after listening to the first episode, while I did see why they shunned the word remake from the word go, given the reaction to the last one, but it's much more a remake than the 2009 version was. The opening episode of the box set, Departure and Arrival, is pretty much a beat-for-beat audio remake of the opening episode of the original. It pretty much retains the entire structure of it, and lots of the dialogue is exactly the same. Number 6 wakes up in a bizarre British holiday village on an island somewhere with no escape, where his movements are heavily monitored by Number 2, and everything's chirpy and nice and a little bit sinister. And he's subjected to weird psychological experiments to get him to give Number 2 the information that he needs. And he's kept in line by a mysterious white bouncy ball type thing called Rover. I'm not entirely sure whether sticking so closely to the original was the best way to go about it. I mean, yes, when doing a new Prisoner series, the arrival on the island is an important part of the story, but as said, it is essentially Arrival done again. I mean, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, of course, and this version has been expanded on by Briggs. It's 78 minutes as opposed to 50, and lots of the original dialogue has had stuff added to it, not just to make it work in a non-visual medium, but to make it feel a lot more modern and bouncy. And it did make me laugh out loud a fair few times. It doesn't feel as old as The Prisoner is, because you gotta remember that the original was made 49 years ago. In fact, I rewatched the first episode of the original after listening to this, and you do forget that it has aged quite a bit. Personally, I find that to be part of its charm, but the way that Briggs has tweaked the dialogue does make it feel like something you'd see on TV these days. The second episode, a remake of The Schizoid Man, is where the series starts to diverge a bit more from the original. I was wondering how he'd pull this off, because the one where Number 6 is made to believe that he's a different person, they even make it so that he's left-handed instead of right, and they bring in an imposter who looks and acts exactly like him in the hope that it'll make him crack and divulge his secrets. It's a largely visual episode, and I was surprised just how well it works in audio. With the lack of visuals, you the listener also start to wonder just which one of them is the real Number 6. While the TV series tried to play with its audience along with the character, it's essentially a sly game of cat and mouse, but this remake of The Schizoid Man arguably goes even further in bringing the listener into that game. It's a production that really plays with you and ramps up Number 2's attempt to destroy Number 6's sense of self. It's very immersive, and it also adds a fair few sci-fi elements. The original was bizarre, yes, but it was more like a weird, quirky Bond movie than a sci-fi fantasy. But with Briggs updating the technology of the village for one thing, to make Number 6 from the 1960s feel even more out of place and alienated, he's also made it a bit more fantastical with telepathy and hallucinations, which I felt was a really cool addition. And I'm interested to see what Briggs comes up with for future box sets, particularly if he attempts something like Once Upon a Time. Speaking as a long-time fan of the original, neither of these two episodes felt redundant to me for sticking so closely to the source material, which is usually the big problem with remakes. Like that remake of Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho that they made in the 90s, about half an hour in, you just go, well, what's the point of this? It does feel like there is a point to this Prisoner, because, as said, it feels more modern, and where it takes its cues directly from the original, it has been expanded on. And the process of Briggs jumping off from the original progresses into the first original episode. The series really comes into its own at the third instalment, Your Beautiful Village. It becomes a much more intense experience. Number 6's senses are shut off, he's wandering around the village in the dark, and his hearing comes and goes. He can only barely feel where he is, and only has the occasional bit of communication with the sidekick that he's had in the series, number 9, and the duplicitous number 2, in order to help him return to normality. It plays about with the format of the audio drama in a similar way to the Doctor Who Bigfinish favourite, Scherzo, which I've been apparently pronouncing wrong for years because I'm a complete idiot sometimes. As I said earlier, the original plays with the viewer as well as number 6, but Your Beautiful Village goes way beyond that in immersing you in the psychological torture that he's being subjected to. And the intensity of the experience brings out a great performance from Mark Elstop. While Elstop has captured Patrick McGowan's curt, stiff, upper-lipped public schoolboy type delivery perfectly, his character feels distinctly more dangerous than McGowan's number 6. Throughout the box set, his inability to trust his sidekick, number 9, makes their relationship borderline abusive at times, but this demeanour appears to be a front that he's putting up in the face of people trying to make him crack. And he starts showcasing more vulnerability than McGowan's number 6 as the series goes on, and Your Beautiful Village is the best example of that, and if you're a Prisoner fan, it's well worth getting the box set just for this one. The series finishes up with a remake of Chimes of Big Ben, which is very similar to the remake of The Schizoid Man, in that it's very faithful, but it does diverge a bit and add some more fantastical elements. And controversially, I'd say it even outdoes the original in parts. Yes, lots of the dialogue is lifted straight from it again, but with a fantastic performance from Michael Cochrane as the new number 2, the sinister atmosphere reaches fever pitch. And it makes number 6's ingenious, almost successful escape attempt feel all the more dangerous. Also, the production on this one, the production's flawless throughout the box set, but here in particular, it really adds to the listener's immersion in number 6's plans from conception to execution, and number 2 and the people working for him playing with number 6's ability to perceive reality. There's also the occasional bits of fourth wall breaking too, which really adds to what the original was doing in presenting number 6's apparently almost successful escape attempt essentially as a piece of performance art. So yeah, all in all, while not without its flaws, this is a gorgeously produced and highly engaging box set that does the original justice while adding just enough of its own material to justify its existence, even if I personally felt it could have added a bit more. And I'm really hoping that Briggs is planning on that because the original piece is easily the highlight, and I do see a lot of potential for future box sets.